The lawyer cleared his throat like he was about to read a verdict, and my ex-husband wouldn't meet my eyes. That's where it starts. Not in 1992, not in the snow. Here, the last day of business, the neon open sign flickering like a dying pulse. Coffee burned on the warmer because I stopped caring an hour ago. Like, comment, and subscribe Huna Stories for more stories. The bell over the door rang once, then again. 3 strangers stepped inside, well-dressed, calm, out of place in a diner that smelled like grease and endings. A fourth followed, gray suit, leather briefcase, eyes sharp enough to cut glass. My ex stood beside me, fingers tied around the keys he'd already sold out from under me. I smiled. He thought I was beaten. Back then, when I first met him, he loved the diner almost as much as he loved me, or at least he pretended to. We were young, broke, hopeful. I worked the grill, he ran the register, and kissed my neck when no one was looking. We built that place together, with chipped mugs and stubborn faith. In '92, the blizzard came without mercy. Roads buried, power lines down, town locked in white silence. That night, a family knocked on my door after closing. A man, a woman, a little girl clutching a red scarf. Their car had died 2 miles back. No rooms, no phones. I didn't hesitate. I never do. I let them sleep in the booths, gave them soup, wrapped the kid in my own coat. The man tried to pay me with shaking hands. I told him no. I told him someday he could repay someone else. My husband laughed about it later, said kindness didn't keep the lights on. That should have been my first warning. The betrayal didn't arrive all at once. It never does. It leaks in, quiet, persistent. He started staying late, then not coming home. Paperwork appeared I hadn't seen before. He took over the books, said it was easier that way, said I worried too much. I noticed the way he flinched when I touched his phone, the way the diner's finances stopped adding up, how my name faded from conversations that used to be ours. Like, comment, and subscribe Huna Stories for more stories. Then one night, I saw the email. An offer, a developer, a plan to sell the land beneath my feet, signed by him alone. I didn't scream. I didn't confront him. I poured myself a coffee and memorized every detail. The dates, the numbers, the lies. That was the moment I stopped being his wife and became his problem. I played the long game. I let him think he was winning, let him file for divorce, let him tell the town his version of the story, how I was tired, how I wanted out, how the diner was dying anyway. Behind the scenes, I moved pieces. I found the original deed. I read every clause. I learned who really owned what. Turns out, kindness leaves paper trails if you know where to look. That family from the blizzard, they never forgot. The man had rebuilt his life, done well. Very well. He bought land, invested smart, started a company that knew how to wait. 30 years earlier, I'd signed a temporary shelter affidavit so they could access emergency aid. I never thought about it again. He did. That affidavit gave his family a legal claim to a percentage of my property as repayment, an option clause my husband had dismissed as worthless when he skimmed the documents. He didn't count on patience. I called a lawyer, then another. I told no one, not even when the diner started to sink, not when the bank called, not when my ex smirked and said he'd tried to save it. I let him sell the keys. Which brings us back to the bell over the door. The lawyer introduced himself, then the strangers. The woman smiled first, soft, familiar. The girl, grown now, wrapped a red scarf around her neck. My ex finally looked at me. The lawyer spoke slowly, clearly, explained how the sale was invalid, how the land had majority ownership elsewhere, how the diner wasn't closing, it was changing hands. He turned to my ex and said the words I'd waited a decade to hear. You sold what you did not own. The color drained from his face. I watched it happen frame by frame. The new owners, those strangers, announced they would be reopening the diner, renovated, renamed, with me as managing partner. And my ex, he was being sued for fraud, for breach, for every quiet theft he thought I'd missed. The town listened. The town watched. No one spoke. I met his eyes then. Calm, steady. This wasn't anger. This was arithmetic. After they left, I locked the door myself for the last time under the old name. I stood alone in the diner, listening to the hum of the lights, the booths still warm from bodies that once needed shelter. I thought about betrayal, how loud it feels when it happens, how small it looks when it's finished. I didn't destroy him. I let him undo himself. Justice doesn't always shout. Sometimes it waits in the snow for 30 years, wearing a red scarf, holding a ledger no one else bothered to read. Tomorrow, I open the diner again, this time on my terms. Thanks for listening. Like, comment, and subscribe Huna Stories for more stories.